Welcome to Radiant Health, how to create health from the inside out. I'm your host, Lori Waka, and I'm so glad that you're joining us today. I hope you found a nice, comfortable place to sit, relax, and take this all in. You never know, this might be the day that you hear exactly what you need to hear. And I'm so excited to introduce my guest today, Vanessa Cariba. Vanessa is a business coach, and she's going to talk to us today about balancing life and business. Vanessa, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Laurie. Thanks for inviting me too. So glad to be here. So
Uh,
glad.
Thank you. Well, it is my pleasure. And I like to start with asking, what does radiant health mean to you?
Do you know, I thought long and hard about this, and I thought about radiant health first of all from a um, obviously from a business coach's point of view, and how I could sort of help your audience think about radiant health from a business coach point of view and a mindset point of view. So my radiant health means to me that you have a healthy mindset. And help for me, a healthy mindset is understanding who I am, how I was made, and how I show up in this world. So radiant health means to me that I'm balanced. And one of the things we was talking about at the beginning, that I'm going to talk about balance. So just to put the context in place, I have 4 children, and I run a number of businesses, including business coaching. And it's finding that balance between work and home life and myself and my, I guess, my connection with God. That's
Mm.
what it means.
Oh, that's lovely. And that's something that I think, I know I struggle with, and I think so many of us do, balancing family, work, and then making time for yourself. Because I think a lot of times we lose ourself in the process, and we don't give ourselves that time that we need. And I totally agree about the mindset. It all starts here inside, I think, for health as well.
And definitely with that balance, you definitely have to fall off sometimes before you realize that you have to do something about it. And like for me, how I find that balance is like, how much do I give to the world and how much do I give to myself is the ultimate balance. And I guess that's connected with radiant health. Knowing that I'm balanced is healthy for me.
Ah, yes. And so what would you say, what do you do like on a daily basis? How do you practice this balance that creates this radiant health for you?
Now, that's a really interesting question because only today I was talking to a client, and even just this weekend gone. So whatever I say, I practice and I preach it too. And so one of the biggest things I find in life is that we have lots of commitments, whether it's work, or clients, whether it's home, the children, outside community. There's a lots of things going on, and I tend to be somebody who wants to do it all, but realize sometimes that I can't. And so what I used to do is just prioritize everything and have, do this first, this second, this third. But what I found is that I was living a lifestyle of doing, and I didn't find that I wasn't enjoying it. I had my lists. I was doing what I was doing. So I took a step back and looked at who I was, and that connection now with God makes me understand that He's made me for a certain reason. So He's made me in a certain character. So I got to know that character, who I am. And then how did that work in practice? Because it's all good saying things in, the spirit, but how do you hold on to these things, and how does it become like radiant health? How does it become real in your life and practical? And for me, it's like learning how to streamline things. So, I might have 10 things, but it's why people work with me is I'm able to help them see how to make something very complex very simple, and just by putting in maybe processes, systems, thinking things through strategically, even for your family, and getting to enjoy the best things you like about life. So that's like, so for me, it's a bit of time management, but then also choosing the things I really am good at. And you've probably heard this over and over again. We choose the things that we're really good at, and when we're not really good at something, we might get people to help us or ask for support. And back behind that, having an intention to what we do. Um, that's how I practice.
Oh, that's yes, that's such a good thank you for explaining that because I know I felt like raising my hand when you said that you because that's kind of been the story of my life. I actually was sitting with that last night thinking like how long ago did that start for me? When did I start being this person always doing on the hamster wheel? And and I love how you put, wanting to be in a state of being because and if we set our intention for that in the morning, or it can really just change the whole day. And I really try to work on that. And we had a little conversation before this interview started, and
Yeah,
I happen to not be doing great at being in the state of being
yeah.
right now. But so I don't know. It's something that I might be having to work on.
It definitely is a power. There's a power to it because, like, when we think about health, or when the first thing I think about when we think about health, I think about health, like the way I eat, the physical aspects of health. But I'm coming at this from this not only from a from a faithful aspect, but also how do we take faith and make it into an action? And what do we do to be the best version of ourselves? So we're made for something where, Laurie, you're made to be someone, not to do someone. So once we know who we are, we be that, and then we execute life. And life becomes simple because you're aligned to what you're doing, which is why I love business coaching, because I just love what I do, helping clients find business, make sales, and just set up their business in a way that just suits their lifestyle.
I love how you put that. And I can tell you're passionate about it. And just from and you are radiating that too. You really are.
It's
And
not my gold. It's not my gold. You sure? Oh dear. I do love what I do, definitely.
I can tell, and you're such you're so generous too with your thoughts, and I had just like mentioned something I was going through, through, and you just gave your thoughts, and you're so calming too. I have to say
It,
that.
and I have to say that again around health, it's understanding what's in your gut, isn't it? And understanding what's going on around you and almost being in tune to that. I always talk to you about in our intuition, but you're guided. There's something that and like when you know, don't you? And I guess again it has to do with health. It does have to do with radiant health. The more you know, the more confident you are. The more confident you are, the more steps you take. The more steps you take, the more things you do. And and that's, I'm not saying that you're always successful, but you know yourself. You get to know yourself.
That's true, and then that can lead to success in whatever success might be. And it's different for everybody, but it can.
Definitely.
Yeah, it can be. Speaking of success, how would you say Radiant Health has been the key to your success in the way that you practice Radiant Health?
That's again I was thinking about reflecting on how it's been a success for me, and it's definitely back onto the mindset. And what I'll do is I'll talk it from a business and a family aspect, or a marriage, even a marriage aspect. So, like, I have three predominant ways of looking at my leadership, and they're really easy and simple. I'm always happy. Laura, you know this. I'm always happy.
It's true.
And I operate with that. And I think that there's something spiritual and natural about that, because I feel like an open door that people can just come in. And like today, somebody said to me, "You're so nurturing." And, but I love listening to people. And I think that's a key. success, because if you're a good listener or a deep listener, you can really get to the part of people's problems, whether it's family, marriage, or business, or anything else. And I think that's successful. The second thing is that I'm really free spirited. So even though I do all these business and I'm really structured and I help you with business plans and whatnot, I have this way of just being free in my spirit. And to me, free is taking time for me, doing the things I like to do, which is the balance piece, I think. And I've only learnt this recently, so I'm not. It's not been my whole life. I'm practicing. I'm in practice, um, and learning that as much as I give out, because you mentioned about generosity, is as much as I give to me. So I have a firm practice in my business that if I'm doing 4 hours of client work, I'll be giving myself at least 4 hours, because I find what you're giving yourself. You're loving yourself as much as you're loving the person that you work with. And my ethos is, if I'm going to love equally, I'm going to love myself equally. And that could be through anything that I do. And the last one is trusting. That's one of the biggest things that, and I'm still in practice on this one too. Some of them are practicing, but it is a success because I find the more I trust, the more I do. And the more I do, the more I share. And the more I share, the more I impact what's going on around me. So trusting is being the one that I've had to work through many issues on. And I'm still, as you know, I have coaches too. I'm still getting to learn to trust my intuition, how I see faith, and how I deliver that to impact those around me.
Oh, wow. It's all so powerful. I have so
Thank
many
you.
things to say. I'm gonna try to remember them all.
That's it. So it was joy, being happy, being trusting, and being free.
Okay, thank you. Which reminds me, I'm gonna start by sharing a story, um, about us. So we've known each other for maybe half a year now, maybe
Yeah,
6 months, give or take,
yeah.
and, we were in a conversation over, an app called Voxer, and, I had made a comment about ha having a bad memory and not being able to, that I needed to write everything down so that I could make sure I, addressed all that we were talking about. And you had, given this wonderful advice about just be present and just listen. And so when you were talking about listening earlier, it reminded me of that. And because I wanted to share with you that was great advice, and I am a lot better at it than I used to be. And so I took Vanessa's advice, and I really just, instead of being busy and doing and writing down everything I was hearing, so that it would be very easy for me to just go through the whatever we were talking about, I just was present and I listened. And it really did make a difference. Like, I find it easier now to remember what people are talking about and what I want to, add to the conversation without writing it down. I mean, I'm still working on it.
And I think that's good because I used to come from that when I said that to you, I had gone through the same thing. I worked with, I don't know if what you call it, MPs, or I don't know what you call them in your country, but I used to work with MPs. So writing was my thing. I'd have to always do minutes and stuff. So I got into this habit of writing everything I heard down, just in case I missed something, I got something wrong. And it was back down to that trusting, like, what I hear is what I need to hear. What I miss out, I wasn't meant to hear it in the first place. So, trusting that you've heard the key pieces is what I think is key.
That's a good way to put it. And I thank you for reminding me, because I kind of forgot about the trust factor that's in there. Like you said, you're gonna hear what you're meant to hear. And, as long as you're listening with an open heart. And so that's a really good point. And the thing you mentioned also about practice, and like I just said, I'm still, in practice with the listening. Do you agree? I feel like in a way we're always going to be in practice. Is that
Correct. Yeah, definitely. And but you're always, I think you're always improving on how, for me, like my joyful state of being, yes, I can go down. And it could be in business, it could be in my marriage, or it could be in my marriage, it could be at home with the kids. But it's knowing what I can revert to when it all goes wrong. I know that this is the way I am. This is the way that makes me feel radiant and healthy, and revert to that as I go through life.
And I love that you make sure you balance the love that you give to your clients and your family, you give back to yourself because
Yeah,
that's so important. And so many of us don't do that. And that's something I'm in practice with as well, just making sure. And I'm actually thinking I'm getting pretty good at it, but
good.
yeah.
And what I know of you, I know that you're quite balanced. I know that you're quite balanced anyway. So practice it and becoming more aware of it, like in your conscious mind, is you can only the next step is you share it with others, and they do what you do, and that's the impact that we have on the world around us.
Oh, that's so nice. And that's
Mm.
interesting that you bring that up because I that's something I like to check in about too is how our own radiant health can impact the world. And then just like you said, and that I have so many things to ask, but I'll circle back around to you saying happy, be happy. And you are a joyous person. And do you would you say that you set that intention every day to like be that person?
No, that's before I set that intention, I've had these three ways of being. So if I know, say for example, I know that I'm gonna have a number of clients that and I'm also going to give myself time. I'm going to make connection on both sides, me and those. And so if I set the intention of connection, I'm committed to creating connection today. If I go off track, I remember that I said connection. Connection is my key word. And I might remind myself why. I might journal and say this is why I'm doing it, or this is who I get to be, and it will typically be linked back to the ways of being, and just remind myself we're going to slip some days, we're going to slip, so I can have that grace and say, well, this is how I did, this is how I didn't. So the intention is all about really the agenda for the day, and some days I don't, I give myself the grace, and some days I'm super busy. So I find that balance. And some days I'm, it depending on where we are, it will be school holidays, or it will be homework, or it will be chores in the house, or it would be running the businesses. So, you give yourself the grace where you need it.
I love that. Thank you. And would
Sure.
you say, and I know you've shared a lot of great tips, is there anything, an actionable item that you want to share that our viewers can do in terms of creating that balance for themselves with life and business?
So apart from, so I was talking to a client today, and we were looking at priorities, and she's got a number of priorities in her business that are new, and she's launching. And this has everything to do with radiant health and her mindset and who she is as a faithful person in God. And she went into a little bit of an overwhelm. So we get into overwhelm at times. And so the tip that I would say to you is, what I do with my clients is I'll look at what's working for them, and then we'll look at what's not so good, and then we'll try to streamline, which is what I said to you. We'll streamline what needs to be done now, and instantly, what I find with my clients, and even myself, I do this with myself. There's an ease. There's something for me to think about, something for me to pray about. And sometimes I listen out for God at that time, because not all my mind's made the decision, and sometimes I just kind of rest in it. And back to my gut, do I feel peaceful with that decision? Dropping these five things or doing these five things more. So I give that's the tip. I just really a simple sheet. What's working? What's not working? What am I going to be doing? And if you're in faith, or you're connected with source, you just feel the peace run through you.
Ah, that's perfect. And that's something that I try to do, and I need to work on that too. I don't always, um, sometimes
Sit with
yeah,
it.
sometimes I'm here and not in my gut.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know that we are running out of time, so I want to make sure to give you the opportunity to share where our viewers can hook up with you if they want to learn more, and anything that you would like to share.
Okay, so I can offer like a free brainstorming session if you're feeling in a place where you need a little bit of help with your business and you just need clarity. And would I be able to drop the link below to
Oh,
of my the details, or should I give the details here? Or my Facebook page is Vanessa Cariba, so look for me there, or I'll give you the link, whatever works best for you.
and I'll
And
make
I'll be
sure to share it.
okay, and I'll be happy to do a free brainstorming session with anybody of your audience as a free gift.
Oh, thank you. That's so generous. Thank you so much. And you just bring such peace and calm. I just, just love talking to you.
Well, I
Um,
love talking to you too, Laurie. Yeah.
oh, thank you. Before we go, is there anything else that you would like to share or that I may have missed or forgotten?
I just linking back into radiant health. Um, the way we treat our mind, I think, is the way we has an effect on our body, has an effect on the way we live, in fact, has an effect on our marriages and our relationships, has an effect on our children and our community. So I really, really think that it's so important just to connect in with ourselves and be. And I've said that throughout, but that being state of being has so much power to how we execute. So I'd love to share with your listeners. Just remember, when you're feeling that overwhelm, how do you get to be?
That's beautiful. Thank you. And that's something that I need to remember as well.
You
Thank you
too.
so
You're
much.
welcome. Lovely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was so much my pleasure. And so thank you again for being here. And thank you to our viewers for watching today. And I look forward to seeing you back with us tomorrow. Bye.